This is the story on how I've managed to build my own story into a full-time company. If you're new to this channel, I am a former Disney host. I cold pitched and got my own show on Radio Disney called Fearless Everyday, and I have been a serial entrepreneur since I was 12, and I started a blog called A Life in the Fashion Lane. So back in 2011, I started this blog called A Life in the Fashion Lane. It started as a hobby. I was 12 years old. I came from no money and no connections, but I loved to write, and it really was the only thing that I was good at. From age about 12 to 16 or 17, I managed to get in front of people by cold pitching my ideas on fashion at the time to tons of different producers. That allowed me to get on shows like Fox and The Today Show simply by sending them emails, kind of low-key harassing them if they didn't reply. If you give someone something to work with, they're gonna be really tempted to give you an opportunity. So I started emailing a bunch of people, getting myself on some morning shows. And from there, I managed to change the website and to be totally about entrepreneurship and the startup life. I realized that as much as I loved fashion, it wasn't something that I thought was gonna make me a bunch of money, because I realized at that point I was never gonna be thin enough to be a model, and that there were so many competitors back in 2016, back in 2017 for fashion blogging, and so it was just becoming a really saturated market. So I changed the topic to be about entrepreneurship and being a young founder. And from there, I started to reach out to different websites and get myself bylines in a lot of different websites like the Huffington Post, Parade Magazine, even Teen Vogue and Rolling Stone, to share my opinion on topics about things that were happening in culture that were more related to entrepreneurship than fashion, but still gave me an edge in comparison to other influencers at the time and bloggers at the time because of my age and how young and authentic my perspective was. And so I managed to get myself in a ton of different bylines. And then from there, I really ramped up content on my website and my newsletter and Twitter and social media. This is before TikTok even started. So it wasn't really possible for me to just come online and post a video and go viral. I really was working my ass off, still am, day in and day out, to get in front of people and to reach out to people. And I was doing that back then, and honestly, it really, really works. You have to be so persistent and constantly follow up. So with the website, I started doing a lot of different SEO tactics and realized that if I wanted to be successful in the startup and entrepreneurship world, I was really gonna have to focus my topics to things that were relating to only those topics and my personal experience. So I went on, I think at the time, either Upwork or Fiverr, and I hired someone for SEO who told me the keywords that I needed to put in every single blog post to get it at the top of Google, and it did. Within the past 10 years, I've amassed thousands and thousands of monthly page views on my website. That has allowed me to partner with tons of different brands, as well as do tons of different sponsored posts. Instead of just relying on my social media, I've been able to work with brands who pay me to include their links in sponsored posts and ads on the website. So it's just additional revenue for me every single month. Now that social media is so prominent in comparison to 2011 when I started this website, I'm able to use social media a lot more to tell my story than I was at the beginning. But I still rely on a lot of those original techniques to monetize this personal brand, because what a lot of content creators and influencers fail to realize is it's such a saturated market. And the minute that you fall into thinking that you've set yourself apart just because you have hundreds of thousands of followers doesn't mean that you're going to be able to run a successful business for the next 10 or 20 years, because number one, your social media might go away. A website's never gonna go away, and email is never gonna go away, but your social media platforms can. So that's why whenever I'm partnering with a brand, I always make sure to sell them multiple different opportunities, like a sponsored website post, a sponsored social media post, perhaps even a sponsored ad if I'm writing an article for another website. I don't do that as often now, but when I was starting, I was doing that a ton, and it really helped me be able to work with these brands ongoing, because the ROI was so much higher than what it is sometimes when you're working with just one person in general. Obviously, people who follow me might click on the link, but there's also a strong possibility they won't. Same for if you have tons of followers on Instagram or TikTok. You may post something and it's a cute top or whatever, but for whatever reason that day, your 50 or 60,000 followers are just not going to buy it. But if you go and have opportunities on other websites or even TV segments like I have set myself up for, I'm able to put other brands' products in front of even more people and create those long-term steady relationships that have allowed me to monetize this personal brand for a really long time. Become part of networks like Social Fabric. There's also one called Movig. And when I see brands on there that are hiring influencers or content creators, I will reach out to the brand on my own and introduce myself. I don't like to wait around for a brand to tell me that they're gonna say yes or no. I like to go right to the source and ask if they're looking for content creators, influencers, whatever it may be, to partner with. And if so, I'll go and send my rates right along to them. I've also been able to do a very successful newsletter from back when I started, along with a podcast. And again, those are just all revenue streams that have allowed me to monetize a long-term personal brand instead of just having one social media page or one website. I know that obviously the more work that you have to do, the harder it is to track a lot of this stuff and a lot of the followers and the numbers, but you really have to be strategic with the platforms that you're using, because if you're only relying on social media to build upon this personal brand or to market your ideas, you're just gonna put yourself in a hole in case one day a lot of these platforms go away. But like I just said, websites, newsletters, emails, those are really rarely gonna go away. I've also been able to monetize my personal brand over 10 years because I have a really specific story and I'm very strategic with how I share it. If you can tell through a lot of my videos, I'm very honest about not having any money or any connections and building this company. So whenever you guys subscribe to me or reach out or message me, I still love to reply and love to see those messages because I still feel like my story is continuing on. And so hearing from many of you who reach out just shows me that something resonates with you. I could just go globetrotting across the world and talk about how being an entrepreneur is so amazing and has allowed me to do these incredible things. But in reality, being an entrepreneur and especially selling a personal brand is incredibly hard and really taxing. And so I like to have a good split between showing people how fun it is to do this, but more importantly, how ruthless and how honest and how hard you have to work to make this happen. And that's also something that really resonates with companies. Even when I'm writing a pitch, sometimes I'll go the extra step and go on LinkedIn and look up the head marketing person's story or their background, where they're from, when they went to college, and I'll send a super personalized email, especially if this is a company I think I can get paid to work with, which is 99% of the time my goal. I really want to set myself apart. And a lot of people in this day and age think that because they have so many followers, they don't have to take the extra step to be strategic or set themselves apart or really write a good pitch, when in reality, you have to work just as hard because the market with this type of world just continues to be more saturated. So I'm 25 now and I've been doing this for 10 plus years and I've been able to self-sustain for the most part over the years while growing this into a full-time company, getting a show on Disney, really building up this personal brand to where I feel comfortable, still not going to college, still not having that proper business education because I'm constantly learning every single day. And if you follow me, that's really what I want you to take away from these videos, is that you have to be strategic, you have to think outside the box, and you definitely have to be a little bit ruthless to build a brand surrounding your own ideas, because there's so many ideas out there. What sets you apart? So if you watch these videos, every single time you go to a new video, I want you to ask yourself, what sets me apart from the next person pursuing something very similar or following a very similar dream? Just so that you're comfortable answering that question the next time someone asks you or the next time you're in an elevator with your dream mentor or even boss. That is how I built a lifestyle website over the past 10 years that has allowed me to be self-sustainable and run this company and be successful in the public eye while being really honest and authentic about my experiences. And so make sure that you follow and subscribe. Go to the bottom of this video to sign up for the newsletter so you can see every single week what else I have to say about entrepreneurship, the startup culture, and the startup life. And I post new videos every single Tuesday and Thursday. So come back to this channel Tuesdays and Thursdays for a new discussion about how to be fearless and a successful young entrepreneur.